you've rejoined. It shows that you have a lot of interest, yourself and Marianne, in organization change management, right? Hopefully today I can dive a little bit deeper and explain some of the responsibility of a change manager as we go forward. So let me, I'm not going to see you guys anymore. So you just have to confirm with me if you're seeing my screen, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. All right. So today, what I want to talk about, I want to recap some of the things that we've highlighted yesterday. I want to talk about types of change that an organization experience and the change practitioners' roles and responsibility. And then I'll dive a little bit deeper in change management deliverables. All right. Now, just recapping yesterday. Yesterday, we spoke about the realities of change management, right? And as a change practitioner, working your day-to-day operations, we explaining organization, change management, understanding what's the purpose of it throughout an organization is key for any practitioner to understand and to be able to explain it. Getting information, identify change impacts or projects that they have placed on. These are all realities of an OCM person working on a project or any sort of initiative they have assigned. The ability to gain leadership support, understanding of project management, understanding resource needs to help drive that change within the organization. Communication, again, is a big part of the work that a practitioner will have to execute day to day, like the flow of information to impacted teams, identifying impacted teams and the right information to flow to those teams, getting buy-in from all the stakeholders that you are engaged with, and just performing engagement activities to build your credibility as a change manager within an organization. A change manager also needs to understand that not all change is going to be the same. Sometimes we'll have a good rollout and believe that this template, we can just take it and apply it to another project, but it doesn't typically work that way in an organization. You have to plan and action your plan on a day-to-day basis. Some of the core skills that we mentioned that a practitioner needs to have is around communication, communication, and communication. Problem solving. Project management is key because when you're hired, typically you're hired and assigned to a project. Leadership skills. And as I mentioned yesterday, leadership is not about being people leader or leading a team, but to be indirectly leading your project, leading leaders, instructing them about your findings, making recommendation. Interpersonal skills, because you have to work on how to get information from people, understanding their situation within the scale of change. Facilitation. You'll be facilitating meetings upon meetings to understand readiness and impacts of the initiative. We touch a bit on pursuing a career in OCM and having that right educational background. But though a lot of people might have organizational resource business, and don't be intimidated by the degree that you have. Because I mentioned that I myself have a technology degree. I'm coming from a technology world, and now I'm in change management, which is more people focused for versus technically focused. So working on developing the core skills that we mentioned, get certified, right? Build your presence online, seek mentorship. And if you're in a junior role, if you're in an organization that you're not working in change manager, speak to your leader, ask them to assign you change management roles so you can gain yourself, share your interests. We also mentioned some of the careers that you can look out for when looking for a job online on the job boards. The change analyst, specialist, consultant, change leads, change managers. You'll see that that's the most common one out there. Change program managers. Change program managers tend to be like project managers because they're looking at a bigger portfolio of change initiatives that are happening across organization. Transformation managers, very similar to a change manager role. Adoption analysts, business analysts in some cases, project managers, OCM coordinators, and architects. So these are some of the titles you can look out for on different job boards. We also looked at change readiness, and we mentioned this is a crucial activity that needs to happen because with change readiness, it really helps us to understand where the organization is at in the scale of change. And we also, when we're thinking about change readiness, we have to consider different factors, right? Leadership status, culture of the organization, employee engagement, past change experience with different projects being implemented across the organization, having the right resource, whether it be people resource or funding resource, to effect that change throughout the organization. Communication, again, always a highlight of change. And the systems that we have in place, do we have the right systems to support the change to come? Now, that's a recap of what we did yesterday. Today, I want to talk about types of change that an organization face. Now, on the screen, you see I have policies and procedure changes, new systems that are being implemented. Yesterday, I don't know if it's Miriam or Kindness asked me about what's ERP. In most organizations, you'll find that they are switching out their legacy systems and implementing ERP systems. And the common ones are like SAP and Oracle. So these are technology systems that the organizations are going through technology or digital transformation, and they're upgrading their systems or processes through implementation of ERP in their organization. Merger and acquisition is also a type of change that an organization faces. Two businesses coming together with different cultural experiences and practices, and overall just process redesign, changing how you do business. So these are some of the major categories of change an organization goes through day in and day out. Now, I wanted to kind of dive a little bit deeper into the responsibility of a change practitioner, right? Today, if you're hired as a change practitioner, most times, and I've said this before, you will be assigned to a initiative or a project that is happening. It can be a technology focused initiative, where the organization either upgrading their technology systems. It can be a process of initiative where they're just changing how you work or how you execute work. We mentioned acquisition and merger, but the key thing to remember in most cases, I'm going to say 95% of the time, when a change practitioner is hired within an organization, they are placed on projects to work. Now, what are some of those key responsibilities? And I've named a few. You will see, if you are interested in change management, when you look at your job description or what's advertised, they'll say have the ability to develop a change strategy or do change management planning. This is a key responsibility for change practitioners. So what does this entail? Yesterday, we spoke about readiness. So it's performing change management readiness. And change management readiness is all about understanding where the organization is at on the scale of change. What is the change about? How long the change is going to take to implement? How many teams are impacted? The change practitioner's responsibility is to go in and unpack that detail to understand what the change is all about. Also, developing a comprehensive change strategy. So you need to do a readiness assessment to even start a strategy, right? Developing that strategy that is aligned with the organization goals and objective. Where is it that the organization is going? Once you have created the strategy, a responsibility is to have supporting change management plan. So you're going to create detailed plans to implement the change initiative. So you have to consider the size of the change, the scale, the scope, the impacts, how many groups, teams that the change will be impacted, and also plan execution. So these are a core responsibility of a change practitioner. Stakeholder engagement. So yesterday, I mentioned performance or conducting stakeholder analysis. Now, as a practitioner, you need to conduct your stakeholder analysis, identify and engage key stakeholders affected by the change. So you need to know who will be impacted, and you need to engage the persons who are impacted or who you have identified that will be impacted, so you can develop the right action to address their needs. And as mentioned here, these stakeholders can include employees, leaders, customers, and other relevant groups that you have to consider when you're thinking of overall stakeholder engagement. The practitioner have to foster a sense of ownership and involvement among stakeholders to build support. So we mentioned earlier that gaining that buy-in. You as the practitioner have to develop that credibility, that trust, that leaders are going to respect your recommendation, hear your recommendation, feel comfortable to highlight certain things to you. So you have to create that relationship, foster that relationship. Communication and messaging is another responsibility of a change practitioner. Now, it might look like a lot, and yes, it is, but these are things that a change practitioner will have to execute on each project, right, or initiative. Developing and executing a communication plan. So as you can see in the first stage where we have communication, change strategy and planning, create a communication plan is one of those key plans that will support a change strategy. So developing and executing a communication plan that can convey the purpose, the vision, and the benefits of the change initiative or the project. The practitioner will need to tailor message to different audience or different stakeholder groups. This is important because the change practitioner is the person who will be identify change impacts, who will be the person that is going to do the stakeholder analysis. So based on their understanding of how the change will impact the different groups, should have the capability to tailor messages for the different groups so that it can actually sit well with that group or convince that group to make that change to the future state, or develop the messages so leaders can communicate effectively to the impacted groups. Learning and development is also, and learning and development is another responsibility. But here is how the change practitioner comes in, identifying the skill gaps and the learning need. Now, if you're identify the impacts based on your identification of how the groups are impacted, that information that you have obtained as well should let you know or indicate to you whether a particular group will need training in any initiative or any change going forward. The change practitioner will need to coordinate the development and the delivery of the training program as well. So they're going to, if you're working with an organization that has its own learning and development team, the change person is going to be that spokesperson with the learning and development team to ensure that the teams are trained. Change impact assessment. This is probably one of the most important action, task, responsibility that a change practitioner will ever have, because the results from a change impact assessment feeds everything else. It helps to drive your communication plan, your sustainment plan, your resistance management plan, your learning and development plan. The change impact assessment is that everyday working tool that the change practitioner is going to have with them, feeding them with information, constantly keeping it updated. As it says here, assess the potential impact of change on various aspects of the organization, including process, roles, and culture. So it's a very important task because it feeds your strategy. Along with the readiness, it feeds your strategy and it feeds your plans. And it might seem like a lot, right? Because I just spoke about quite a number of things there. And we continue here, resistance management. I'm sure every time you hear about change management, you hear about resistance. This is something that goes hand in hand. So though a small part of it, as you can see, it's among a list of responsibility that the change manager need to execute on. So developing risk management plan, so proactively identifying the source of resistance, and then it works hand in hand with your change impact assessment as well, because as you identify impacts, as you even look at already an organization, you can proactively identify points of resistance early. And also the change practitioner developing that are providing that support, identify who can provide support and coaching to individuals and teams that are struggling, right? And ensuring that the right coaches are providing those necessary support. The change practitioner will also be responsible for the change network development. Not all, depending on the type of change, depending on the magnitude of change, you will have to put in a change network to drive the future state. But not all change projects at times will need a change network. Measuring and evaluating. So one of the jobs of a change practitioner is to constantly ensure that the change objectives are being met or tested, see where we're at in terms of our objective. Are we meeting our objective? Are the benefits being realized? So constantly reporting on metrics, assessing where we're at and reporting back to leaders so leaders can help us move the change along. Organization cultural alignment. So this again is a responsibility of the change practitioner. But what a change practitioner is doing here is really looking at how people work today, what's the current culture, using different tools and reporting back to leaders, right? So trying to understand if the change that an organization or the project that the organization is going to implement is going to impact the culture. Will it create new culture, right? Will this impact the culture in a positive or negative way? The change practitioner need to be able to identify those key factors when it comes to cultural alignment. Continuous improvement is really working with the project team. And this is a part of any job. It's not just a part of the change practitioner's job. It's really, if you're working on a project, you constantly do lessons learned and see how we can improve. So this is not unique to a change manager's role. Within any organization, whether you're working in customer service or I don't know, IT, wherever you are, I'm sure this is a responsibility that everyone needs to execute on. So collaboration with leaders and teams, this is important for the practitioner to know. I will always repeat it. Leaders are the ones that effect change, not the change managers. So if you think about, you go to a movie and you enjoy a really good movie, right? What people see is the movie. The change manager is one of those persons in the behind the scenes that will help the audience to enjoy a good movie, right? So I'm saying that to say the leaders are the one that is upfront, like the movie director or those best actors, right? They're upfront, but you're behind finding out the relevant information to ensure that people enjoy the movie at the end of the day. Leaders effect change. Change managers are the enablers. We find the information, we gather the impacts, we try to understand how ready an organization, feed the leaders with that information so they are equipped to answer all the relevant questions that is going to come at them. Right? So before I move on, anybody have any question? Let me minimize my screen. Anybody have any questions on that? Go ahead, Kindness. Let me minimize my screen.
Kindness and Miriam, their hands are up.
All right. Thank you so much, Masha, for support. It's on the recent thing you just said, the very last thing you said about change managers not being the ones to effect the change, but they enable the change, right? And in the past, yesterday, you mentioned something about them, about us being learning how to facilitate meetings and all, and then communication. So what I want to understand is, if we are not the ones effecting the change, are we going to have communications or meetings with the team members, or those facilitations, or the facilitation of the meetings will be with just the team leaders, the key stakeholders? I don't know if I expressed my question properly.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
All right. So
Thank you.
let me tell you how it works, right? So as the change practitioner, right, you're going to find out the impacted audience of the change, right? Once you have identified who are the impacted audience, you're the one that is going to arrange meetings. You're the one that is going to lead those meetings, asking questions like, what is changing? How does stuff work today? Right? So you're going to do that research and collect all the information. Sometimes you might have a team of, say, 100 people that is impacted, but the meeting that you're having is with 10 persons or 5 persons out of that 100, and you're having those conversations to collect the information. Your goal also for the 100 persons that are impacted to identify who leads what group within that 100 and who will be the right person to communicate about the change, right? Now, once you have found out that information, you're also going to be the one that is going to jot down all the key messages, meet with the leaders of the group and coach them to say, okay, this is what is going to change. This is how it's going to impact your group. And this is what I recommend you to see. But as individual leaders, they can always change what they want to say or the flow of it, but your goal is to equip them with the right information so they understand the change that is going to impact their team.
Okay, got
Did I?
it. Thank you. Yes. So just to reiterate, to be sure I got what you said. So we have the meeting with the leaders, and then the leaders carry the information we give to them and run with their team. Did I get it? Is that what you said?
Yes. So the
Okay,
leaders cascade that information, right? Marian.
Thanks, Marsha. My question is about all the processes and, for instance, the assessment, impact assessment, the readiness assessment, and all that. Are there like approved templates that are used by change managers to perform this task? Are there like industry or best practice templates? That's number one. Another question I have is you mentioned somewhere about developing KPIs for your impact assessment. How do we identify like the key KPIs for a change? Just an example. You can just share one example. Thank you.
Okay. So in terms of templates, yes, there are templates that are I wouldn't say I wouldn't use the word approve, but industry best practices, right? That most change managers have been using over the years, and we continuously refine them based on projects. Now, even with the course that we've offered here at Pollard, you would have access to a number of templates that is industry best practice, right? And you'll see even with the different certification bodies, the templates are in line with those. But remember, templates are just a guide. As individuals, you have to know how to adapt based on the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
The second thing about KPIs, no. The KPIs, you tend to work with your leaders to define the KPIs. So, for example, one, it can be a KPI around training, and we want to ensure that when individuals are trained, the training results come back as 80% of the individuals understand the training, and 80% of the individuals thought the training was in line with how they execute practice, and we test according to that. It can be a communication KPI where we say 80% or 90% of the impacted teams responded that they are aware of the project and they are aware of the project in a certain time period.
Okay.
It can be a KPI around if you implement a system, it can be usage. So within 3 months of implementing a certain system, we see usage rate of 60% or 75%, right?
Okay.
So you, depending on the project that you're working with, you work with the leaders to see which KPI matter to them.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Any more questions before I move on? Okay. All right. So let me get the screen. All right. So the important thing is that change practitioners play a pivotal role in ensuring that organization effectively adapt to new circumstances. Right. So all these responsibilities that I've walked you through are some of the most common responsibilities of a change practitioner within an organization. So if you're looking to go into OCM, it's important to understand these responsibilities. And you can even look at it and say, what if you're looking to transition from the role that you're in and you're looking to develop your resume, look at these responsibilities. What is it that I'm doing today that is similar, right? What you can ask yourself this question and compare it, because this is how you're going to make that transition and prove to an interviewer that you're capable to do the work of a change practitioner, right? All right. So I wanted to call this out tonight, and I just spoke about the responsibility, but this is like a summary, right? Let me just bring it all in. I thought I had taken this off, but I'll bring it all in. So, change practitioner task. A while ago, I just deep dive in around 11 different responsibility, right? But I'm trying to sum it up here. Change practitioner task. You're performing the change management and readiness assessment. And a lot is encompassed there. I mentioned a few earlier. Documenting case for change is all about understanding what the change is about, who is impacted, what's changing, what's not changing, what's the timeline of the change. Assessing the sponsor, the leader, right, of that particular initiative. Analyzing stakeholders. We spoke a lot about stakeholder analysis earlier and yesterday. Assessing risk and resistance, and conducting change impact assessment. So those are some big ticket tasks or responsibility that a change practitioner would perform on a project, all encompassing all those different responsibilities that I just spoke about earlier. Now, what's the output of these tasks? Right, so you're working on these, you're having conversation, you're doing interviews, or you're doing observation or reading document. At the end of the day, a change practitioner output, you're going to get your results from the assessment. How ready are we? Right? Whether it's a change management assessment or the change readiness assessment. Case for change, you will have a defined change definition. So you'll understand on a piece of paper, on your computer, on your tablet, what that change is, who will be changing, right? What's not changing, what's changing, and the time frame. You will understand who owns the project, what the owner of the project is like. You'll know a list of change the impacted stakeholders and groups, and you will understand early risk and resistance by conducting the different change practitioner tasks. And at the same time, you'll be able to communicate or highlight because you've documented the high-level change impacts. Now, somebody asked yesterday, what are those deliverables? So those hard deliverables of a change manager or a change practitioner. your change strategy, a change management strategy. So it's a document that you're going to share with your leaders that this is how we're going to implement change over the next 6 months, over the next year, or next 3 years. Every strategy needs to have change management plans that is going to support that strategy. Now, a change management plan is not one plan. It is a group of plans. And here are some of them that is included. So you have a change management working plan, which is very similar to a project management plan. You have your communication and engagement plan, your sustainment plan, learning and development, resistance management plan, leadership action plan, resource plan, and coaching plan. And this is not all encompassing, but I want you to understand that these are some of the hard deliverables that you need to show leaders that this is our strategy, get it approved by the leaders, and also communicate the change management plan that is going to help to enable the strategy and what the teams are going to execute on, right? So this is just a summary of some of the hard deliverables that when a change practitioner and the task and the output that kind of feed those hard deliverables. Any question on this slide before I move on? Let me minimize this again. Any question on this one? You're all good? Okay. All right, give me time. All right. So what are you looking at here? The organization change management project activity guide. Does this look familiar to anyone? Anybody's going to come off mute and say yes or no?
Sort of. It's a bit similar to the project management steps, or yeah, the initiation phase and planning phase. At least those ones I've seen in project management.
Okay, good. Well, what we're trying to accomplish here, and you are correct, is that, and I'll repeat this, most times when a change practitioner is hired within an organization, they are hired and assigned to projects. In an organization, and it can differ across organization, but most times you'll see this, the organization have different gating phase for projects. And the gating phase tend to represent initiation, planning, analyzing, design, quality assurance, testing, deployment, and maintenance. What we're trying to represent here from a change management perspective is just where do we fall in from when we are working on projects? What is happening from a change management activity perspective, right? It's really to align it back with the project management activity guide and how the project management works. We want to keep in mind that project management tend to be hard tactics and change management tend to be soft tactics, because what we're doing, we're very people focused when it comes to change management. So project management delivers the planned change, and change management ensure that the delivered change is implemented and adopted by the people within the organization. So our goal is to ensure that, the organization is receiving the benefits and or the realization of benefits when it comes to change management. So let's look at it. From an initiation phase, right? The change management activity would be developing that case for change. And the case for change really is, as I mentioned earlier, what is changing, right? Who is impacted by the change? What's not changing? What are some of the risks? What's the timeline of that change? This is what are some of the benefits of that change? And what's the risk of not making the change? This is what we're trying to accomplish in this particular activity in the initiation phase. At the same time, we're trying to see if we can draft a strategy based on the information that we are getting about the change, analyzing the stakeholders, and this is just early stages, so to understand who is going to be impacted, because as a part of the case for change, you will identify at some sort the individuals that are, or the teams or groups that will be impacted. Assessing readiness right at the beginning, we need to know if we're going to implement a system, how ready are we to implement that system, right? They understand the sponsor's competence, right? The sponsor is a leader that is going to help to drive the change. So we need to understand the sponsor's capability to drive that change, competence, and identify how are we going to help the sponsor if there are any gaps in the competence. How are we going to help the sponsor to upskill or coach the sponsor to drive the change? In the planning stage, just like most planning, we're developing those plans, right? Really still drafting, because you have to think about change management activities tend to be very cyclic. So as you learn new information, you have to tweak your plans. So in your planning stage, you're developing the communication plan, the sponsors or leadership plan, coaching plan, resistance management plan. You're activating some of these plans as well, right? Is it really and truly with change? You want to communicate early and often about the impacts of change. But it all depends on your strategy, of course. If leaders say they want to wait at certain time to communicate, or the change manager is advising based on early information, let's start communicating now. Analyzing phase in the project, what you're doing from a change perspective is preparing and planning for your stakeholder interviews. Okay? You now want to have conversation to really understand how does stuff work today. What is that true current state? And the importance of this, it will help us to define, build out some of our plans now. So some of those transitional activities to bring us or to get us to that future state, right? Preparing and planning for those change impact workshops. So in that analysis phase of a project, we're really driving down into the details. That's what we're about, the change. So if we should talk to all the teams or the leaders of the teams, this is the stage that we're going to ensure that we talk to all the leaders and ensure that we identify any possible resistance and think about strategies to mitigate any risk that we face. In the design phase, and when we talk about design is when the developers are really doing their design and development or build. For a change management perspective, what we are doing is updating the change impact assessment. We are implementing our communication plan, we're updating our plans, and we're implementing the relevant plans that need to be implemented. Defining training plan if it's a case where learning and development is needed. QA, there's not much that we can call out that is happening in the quality assurance phase. But you have to understand from a change perspective, there's continuous communication. Testing phase, based on feedback coming from testing results, we can update our messages going forward. So we are gathering feedback, we're assessing go live readiness, we're conducting after action reviews communication if needed. So it's really about communicating, the testing phase if we have discovered anything new, or update our plans accordingly. Development, the deployment phase is where we want to ensure that the groups that are impacted, or the impacted stakeholders, if there's training, they are trained, right? Training is conducted. It's the same phase. We're still gathering feedback. We're still assessing readiness for the change to come. And based on the results, we're tweaking our plans to ensure that individuals are ready to receive the change. And as you can see, we're celebrating early success in that change. From a maintenance perspective, from a change management side, we call that sustainment plan, right? Sustainment planning. So what are those activities that we've defined in our plan that we're going to execute on after the change? So case in point, I was working on a cybersecurity project, and our sustainment activities, like every quarter, we have refresher training for our employees, right? To ensure that the learning is concretized. Any question on this project activity guide?
It's a lot of information. Looks like a lot of work that the change manager does.
It is. It's a lot of work, but it is a rewarding career as well, right? I'm not going to say your project manager do anything less. It is a lot of work, but
Yeah.
if you really like dealing with people, discovering new information, working with different projects, learning new things every day. We could say that for most careers, but this is one that you'll find very rewarding, especially when you've developed a plan and the execution goes well.
Yeah.
You will have your obstacles, but once you get that leadership support, once you're working on getting leadership support, it makes your life a little bit easier as a change manager.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Okay. And I guess to wrap it up, because what I really wanted to talk about tonight is what the deliverables of a change practitioner are, and some of the responsibilities of the change manager, and the work that we have to put in to ensure that, organization achieve that future state, right? Yeah, and as Marianne said, it's a lot of work, right? Any questions before we start talking about training? Any questions about the responsibility of a change manager? The deliverables? Any? Go ahead, Kindness.
Thank you so much. My question is about strategy and plan. In my notes yesterday, maybe I didn't hear correctly. You mentioned something about that. Let me quote everything. That to get strategy, you need to execute some plans. So, with regards the deliverables you brought up today, strategy came before plan. When you were talking about the hard deliverables, strategies and plan, you need to show some strategies and plan. So I'm trying to reconcile the two statements just to be sure I have a good understanding of. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So strategy always come before a plan. All right. So think of your strategy as the what, and your plan is the how, right? You're gonna, when you're assigned a project, the first thing you want to do is to understand what it is all about. What is it that they're trying to achieve, right? So you're saying, what is that change? What is the benefit of the change? what is the organization vision, goal, right? How these things align, who will be changing, what will be changing, what's the risk of not changing, right? Once you've identified answers to those questions or timelines, you will have that information to say, okay, based on what I learned, this is my strategy to implement this change moving forward, right? And your strategy might encompass, okay, I need to develop communication strategy, like how I'm going to execute on communication. I need to identify learning and development targets. I need to define sustainment in the future in order to realize benefit. And I need to define change impacts and change readiness. So this can be your strategy buckets of work. Now, in order to achieve the strategy, you need to define plans to support that. So if there's learning and development, you need to, I now have to develop a learning and development plan. So which group will be trained? How will they be trained? What's the method of the training, the objective of the training? When will be the training? So the plans get into the how, right? To ensure that we achieve that big target of learning and development. Communication. So a part of our strategy is that we're going to do communication. Then we have to develop communication plan to understand which our audience, what is it that we're going to communicate it, how are we going to communicate, the method of communication. So think about it that way. Our strategy comes first and our plans come after. All right? One is the what and what's the how. Did I respond to your question?
Thank you.
Clearly?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Great. I just wanted to, before we wrap up, I know yesterday we mentioned the training, so I just wanted to kind of highlight it again. So we do have the OCM training that is starting, I think, the 27th of this month, and it goes Tuesdays and Saturday, or Saturdays and Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it's an 8 weeks course, right, that you can sign up for here at Pollard. So you can go pollardconsult.com/training to sign up. And we do have a one-time payment of 1,600 Canadian and the 3 installation of 675 plus the 4 installment of 510. Right, so the price will be changing soon. So if it's something that you're really interested in, you should try to sign up early. I brought this back, and yesterday when I showed it, I only showed like the outline and the key deliverables. But one thing I wanted to highlight, the practicum course, we tried to make it as practical and introduce projects that you more than likely you'll see in real life. So it's real project that project managers have worked on. So these are the cases that you analyze. And as you can see, over the 8 weeks, we cover different topics and different OCM deliverables, all the OCM deliverables that you'll need to understand when executing change management responsibilities in the workplace or in different organizations. Some clarification about the 50%. So yesterday I said you'll get a 50% off discount This is if you have signed up for another class, like the BA or the PM class, not for this master class. If you have previously signed up for the BA or the PM class, being an alumni of those class, then you will be entitled to 50% off when you sign up, right? The Pollard Consult also offer the ProSci certification training, and these are the dates when the ProSci certification training will happen. There's one next week, January the 29th to 31st, and there's also going to be opportunity for March and April as well. So if getting ProSci certified is something that you're thinking about, yes, you can also get this certification training as well from Pollard Consult. Right. Thank you for joining today. Is there any other questions that you'd want to ask? And I know we want you to. Everybody's a bit quiet. I know we're in different time zone, but everyone is on mute.
Yeah, I will like us to put in the chat section our take home for today's class, day 2 of the masterclass. So can you share with us in the chat section what we gained today? Just tell us your take home.
Go ahead, Kindness.
Take home knowledge.
Thank you so much, Masha. So my question again is on the certification and the training. I sent an email, but I didn't get a response. So maybe I'll just say it here so I can get a quick response. So for the OCM training, I'm really interested in the both, but just to be sure what I'm getting into. For the OCM training, are we going to be getting a certificate for it? What?
From the practicum, the practicum?
I don't know.
Yes, you will. You will get a certification of completion of the practicum, and you can use it as well to define your experience on your resume, because it's going to be a real life project that you're going to have. So you'll get a certification of completion for the practicum.
Okay, and then for the ProSci certification, please, are we going to the certificate we are getting? Is it going to read Pollard or is it going to read Proceed?
It's a ProSci training, so it should read ProSci, right? Let me. I have not seen the ProSci training certification, but it should read ProSci. It should read, because Pollard is now partnering with ProSci to offer this training. Right? I know Ogi has put a lot of work in getting partnership with ProSci and to ensure that, you know, the relationship.
That's just my main,
that's
just my main concern, because
it's a ProSci certification program that is offered through Pollard Consult. Yeah.
Hi, Masha. I also had the same question yesterday. I understand the reason why Kindness might be asking this question again, because you're wondering if we do this Pollard-led training, Pollard-led ProSci training, are we going to be ProSci certified? Hope this is not just attending a training like this one. Is this the certification training? I know ProSci does this training for 3 days. And I know it's like 4,000 Canadian. So I'm wondering, okay, are they giving half the price to Pollard, to participants from Pollard to get the same certification? That's what we're trying to get clarification for, to be clear that it's going to be a ProSci certification, not just another training further explaining what we have learned in this masterclass. This is going to be the certification training.
Yeah. So I must tell you, and it's best to speak to Ogie or the info at Polar, because my main focus is the practicum, right? So I do not want to mislead you. What I know for sure is that Pollard have gone through a series of meetings with ProSci in order to be able to offer a ProSci training through Polar Consult, right? So this is something that Polar tried, not Polar, ProSci. You'll find there are different organizations around the world that offer ProSci training. The kind of deals or arrangement that ProSci has with Polar, I do not know the intricacies of it. But the mere fact that Polar is able to say, I am offering ProSci certification, it has to be approved, right, by ProSci. Because I don't think they would take the risk of putting it out there like that without getting it approved by the approving bodies, right? They would have to call it something else. But I noticed they boldly say ProSci certification training, which will lead me to believe that this is certified by ProSci. Right? No, they might just say, Ogie and team, you know, they have good negotiation skills by talking to them. Maybe they can talk about their audience that is there, you know, to get those deals, right?
Okay, so how do we get this feedback from Oge? Do we rely on Funke to give us some for more information, or we have to send an email?
If you send an email to info at Pol, that's the best way, right? Because to get a response, info at polarconsult.com. That's the best way. But based on my experience with not with Pollard, with ProSci, I am going to safely say you're getting a ProSci certification, like a ProSci approved certification. Because as a training body, you're not allowed to just use the name without getting it approved by the organization. And I was a member of ProSci for a very long time. So I wouldn't be saying that right now. That's not right. True. How they work. I couldn't use their template without being a part of their program. Right? Even with some organizations that I've worked with, and they have full access to Proximi, the Proxima tool and all of that. I know how ProSci work. So I'm going to, as I said, my focus is the practicum area, but I know that Polar Consult is expanding in different training offerings, right? And this is one of the organization objectives for 2024. And ProSci might be the newest partner. And Ogie had explained that she's been doing a lot of work with ProSci to get them on board. So we just have to be thankful that we're getting a good deal, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you still want to share with us your take-home knowledge from today's class in the chat section? Kindness, we are here to hear from you.
I just realized that Abu Semi.
Okay,
He's here.
And he's quiet today.
He's quiet today. Yeah.
So who else want to share with us before I give in the last information? Just want to put in the chat section what he or she learned today. Anyone? 30 seconds to go. Okay. Thank you, kindness. Who else again? 10 seconds to go. Count down 9, 8. Okay, I'm saying so. Yeah, share with us. Share with us what you learned today. You were quiet all along the way, so I want to believe your journal is full. You were busy jotting down stuff. So can you share with us your take home for today? Okay, while Abusemi is typing, I have a good news. So I will be putting in the chat section our social media links. And what we are expected to do is we are to post on the links on the social media platform the knowledge we gained yesterday and today. And after doing that, we are to tag Oge and Pollard. So a winner is going to be chosen, and that winner is going to have 100% scholarship to come on board for the organizational change management training. So it could be you. I'm putting in the links now. Oh, see, Mary, I'm shouting. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so you can screenshot, you can copy. We are going to leave this for the next like 3 minutes. So that if you want to copy, you copy. If you want to screenshot, you screenshot. And just go to the social media platform, type in what you learned yesterday and today, and tag Oge and Pollard. You can also comment and like other people's posts. So at the end of the day, a winner is going to be chosen, and that winner is going to have 100% scholarship to come on board. That is 1,600 Canadian dollars. That is much.
I hope you pick more than one winner.
It's going to be one. It's going to be one.
Do we have to comment on every social media platform listed here?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
about 1,600.
All right.
About $1,600.
And also, sorry, just to get the terms and conditions clearly. Are we to tag Oge and Pollard? Or
Pollard, yeah, you tag Oge, tag Pollard.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, the
No, but when we comment on these platforms, is already on the page. Why do we have to tag them again?
Oh, okay. You log in into the platform, then you come up and say, okay, I attended organizational change management training organized by Pollard on these dates. You can mention the dates and
oh, you're saying we should make a post on our own page.
Okay. You're making a post. Yeah.
So can you come again? We are making a post on our personal social media pages and tagging Pollard and Oge. Is that correct?
So you log on to this through these links. We have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, link there, and YouTube. So you log on. So when you go through this link, it's going to take you to for instance, Instagram is going to take you to the Instagram social media page.
I follow you on Instagram. Yes, from Pollard Instagram. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have for Oge, we have for Pollard. Facebook, we have for Oge, we have for Pollard. LinkedIn, we have for Oge, we have for Pollard. So you are going to go to those. So that means on each social media platform, we have to both Oge and Pollard.
Okay, so when it takes me to, for instance, Oge's Instagram, am I supposed to comment on the last post there? I need to understand. Where are we going to put the comments?
I'm just trying to make it cheap for you. What you expected to do is, for instance, if you log on to the Instagram page of Oge, you make a post, talk about OCM, talk about what you gained. Okay. So when if you now go ahead to like and comment on other people's posts or share, it's going to give you a leverage above someone that just posted and went away. You understand? So I'm just like trying to
I don't understand the terms and conditions. It's not very clear.
You know what you expected to do originally is
Funke, so if I go to Oge's page on Instagram, she has several posts. Where are we putting the comments?
You just make a post. there's a place to make a post on Instagram, right?
I can't post on Oge's page. Are we commenting somewhere, or we are making a post on our own page and tagging
All right,
her?
let me make it easier for you. Just
Okay.
go and you see where you have Polar Consult and they ask about the training. Just make a comment, or you can make a post on your own Instagram and tag Ogie and tag Polar. All right.
Miriam, is it clear now?
It's not clear. You're telling me, because somebody else might do something else and I do something else, and then I'm automatically disqualified because it's not being explained properly. Because what you were saying before is that we should follow this link. I clicked on the link now and it's taking me to Oge's page. I can only see her post. I cannot make a post unless I'm commenting on a picture. So I've done a lot of social media management. So that's why I'm trying to understand exactly what you want us to do with these links, right?
Okay, I get you. So now let's do this way. If you log on to Oge's page on Instagram, you can comment on whatsoever she's sharing and maybe share your experience. Nevertheless, you can go to your Instagram page, make a post, then tag Oge and Pollard.
That's much better. That's a much better explanation. Thank you.
All right. So to everyone, is it clear? Agnes, Abusemi, who else do we have on board? Oh,
yes,
is it clear?
We are commenting on a post on their pages and even YouTube. So the other question is there a timeline to this?
I don't know. I can't answer that one now, but I think the earlier the better. Between now and next week Monday, you can just get to do it during the weekend.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So guys, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
I'm already connected to you on LinkedIn, Masha.
Yes, just reach out to me, ask me any questions that you want to ask about change management. I'm here to help. And thank you for joining tonight. Okay?
Thank you so much. One last question for Funke.
Yeah,
Funke, what is the selection criteria for this thing, for this your free training? What is the selection criteria?
The person with the highest post.
Okay, the person with the highest what? Likes.
Yeah, likes, posts, comments.
Wow, this one passed the Nigerian election.
1,500 Canadian dollars here.
I understand. All right, may the best person win. Good luck to everybody.
Miriam, I hope you are not going to, Miriam, I hope you are not going to rig this election.
I'm not rigging anything. I'm not APT. Are you sure I'm going to contest?
Already you have rigged it. I didn't want to say anything today, but I've been followed. In fact, I learned a lot from Miriam today and Kindness. All their contributions, I was just following. These ones are also second teachers to me. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, Miriam, I think there is what is called referral bonus too. So maybe you're able to bring somebody in to register. There's a bonus for you. So
well,
I think you should.
How many percent? What's the percentage?
I don't know.
You
can reach out to Oge for that percentage. I don't know, but there's a referral
we need to find Oge. Like she's one that has answers to all these questions.
Email to info@pollardconsult.com.
Okay.
So you'll be able to know the percentage of the bonus.
No problem.
Yeah, and I think that is easier for you, I guess.
And the BA class, I think, is going on till tomorrow. So you can always join the masterclass or the BA class as well tomorrow.
I didn't register for BA. I'm not really interested in BA.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Yeah.